Have you ever wondered why some people seem to climb the ladder of wealth effortlessly, while others spend their whole lives stuck on the same step? Why some work harder than ever but never escape survival, while others barely seem to try, and yet keep rising? It's not luck, it's not intelligence, it's levels. Because wealth isn't a single destination. It's a series of mental, emotional, and financial transformations. And once you understand those levels, you'll never look at money, or yourself, the same way again. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to walk you through every level of wealth, from broke to free to powerful. The invisible path that separates those who struggle from those who control their lives completely. Let's begin at the bottom. Level 1. Survival. This is where most people start, and where far too many stay. At the survival level, money doesn't represent opportunity, it represents oxygen. You don't think about investing, saving, or growing like you think about getting through the month. Every paycheck disappears the second it arrives, every bill feels like a battle, and every unexpected expense feels like an emergency. At this stage, you're not free and you're reactive. Life is happening to you, not for you. You wake up every day thinking about how much things cost, not what they're worth. And the worst part? You start to believe that this is normal. But here's the truth. Survival isn't normal. It's a trap built by systems that profit when you're too tired to question them. The banks want your debt. The advertisers want your attention. And the corporations want your time. The only thing they don't want is your independence. That's why escaping level 1 isn't just about making more money. It's about taking your power back. Because the first rule of wealth is simple. If you can't keep it, you'll never grow it. Level 2. Stability. Once you break free from survival, you reach stability. And for many, it's the first taste of peace. You finally have a little breathing room. The bills are covered. You've got some savings. Maybe even a small emergency fund. But here's the catch. Stability feels safe. And that makes it dangerous. Because when life stops being chaotic, most people stop growing. They confuse comfort with success. They trade progress for peace. And slowly, without realizing it, they start to stagnate. This is where the average person lives forever. In the middle. Stable enough to survive but not hungry enough to advance. But wealth doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in movement, like in discipline. At this stage, your mindset has to shift from security to strategy. You have to stop asking, how do I avoid losing? And start asking, how do I win? Because the second rule of wealth is this. Stability is the foundation, not the finish line. Level 3. Growth is when money stops being your problem and becomes your project. You've mastered your expenses. You're saving consistently. You're investing, learning, compounding. This is where your money begins to work for you. At this level, something amazing happens. You stop chasing more income and start chasing better systems. You begin to understand leverage. You realize that time, people, and information are assets. And you stop trading your hours for dollars because now you understand how to multiply effort through structure. This is where business owners, investors, and creators are born. The focus shifts from earning to optimizing. But this level comes with its own illusion. Because once money starts growing, ego sneaks in. You start comparing. You start showing off. You start thinking you've made it. That's the moment most people plateau or crash because they forget that real wealth isn't about speed, it's about endurance. And the third rule of wealth is this. Money grows fastest when you stop needing to prove that you have it. Level 4. Freedom. Now we enter the level that most people dream about, but very few experience. Financial freedom. At this point, your passive income covers your expenses. You can live comfortably without working for survival, but what's most powerful isn't the money. It's the mindset. You finally stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking, do I even want this? Your decisions aren't driven by fear anymore. They're driven by purpose. You can say no to things that drain you. You can walk away from toxic jobs, fake friendships, and empty obligations. And that's when you realize freedom isn't about owning more. It's about needing less. This is the level where time becomes your greatest asset. Every day you own is a day you can invest in yourself, your health, your relationships, your ideas. But even here, danger lurks, because freedom without direction becomes drift. Without new goals, many free people lose meaning. They confuse relaxation with fulfillment, and that's when the richest among us begin to feel poor again, not financially, but spiritually. That's when it's time to ascend to the next level. Level 5. Purpose. Purpose is the level where wealth transforms from selfish to systemic. You no longer ask, how can I make more money? You ask, how can I make this matter? At this point, the goal isn't accumulation, it's contribution. The wealthy at this level understand something profound. Money without mission is just numbers. But money with meaning becomes legacy. They use wealth to build, not just for themselves, but for others. They create foundations, invest in education, fund startups, mentor, donate, innovate. And in doing so, they unlock something no luxury could ever buy: significance. Because purpose is the highest form of profit. It's what turns freedom into fulfillment. It's what separates those who are rich from those who are remembered. So far, we've moved from survival to purpose, the transformation from reacting to life to mastering it. But there are still higher levels. Levels most people never reach because they're not about money anymore. They're about meaning, mastery, and power. Let's keep climbing. Level 6. Power. Power isn't about control, it's about influence. The ability to shape the world around you instead of being shaped by it. At this level, your wealth becomes a tool to bend systems, not just budgets. You can start movements, change industries, shift narratives. You're no longer playing in the market, you are the market. This is where billionaires, political donors, and major innovators operate. They don't wait for opportunities, they create them. But power is a double-edged sword. It can elevate or corrupt depending on your foundation. If your purpose is pure, power amplifies your impact. If your purpose is ego, power amplifies your downfall. That's why true power can only come after purpose. Never before. Because without emotional maturity, power isn't wealth. It's just destruction disguised as success. And the fourth rule of wealth is this: money multiplies what you already are. If you're insecure, it multiplies insecurity. If you're disciplined, it multiplies freedom. If you're generous, it multiplies legacy. Wealth never changes character. It just exposes it. Level 7. Legacy. Legacy is when wealth outlives you. You stop asking, what do I get from this? And start asking, what stays because of this? At this level, your name becomes shorthand for an idea. Your wealth becomes infrastructure. Your choices ripple into future generations. Legacy isn't about fame, it's about continuity. You're planting trees whose shade you'll never sit under. You're funding education, innovation, art, humanity. You're proving that money is most powerful when it's used to shape the future, not decorate the present. Legacy is when your wealth stops belonging to you and starts belonging to the world. That's why the richest minds in history, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Gates, Buffett, all ended their journey not by hoarding, but by giving. They understood the final law of wealth. Money that dies with you was never really yours. Because the purpose of wealth is not possession, it's progression. Level 8. Mastery. And finally, mastery. The rarest level of all. At mastery, wealth is no longer a pursuit. It's a reflection. You don't chase it, you express it through creativity, clarity, and contribution. You've transcended comparison, status, and scarcity. You live in balance. Your wealth is your work, your peace, your influence, your health. All aligned. You no longer fear loss because you understand something profound. What you've built can be rebuilt because you've become the asset. Mastery isn't about having everything, it's about needing nothing. And that's where the journey ends and begins again. How people move between levels. Here's the truth few people admit. You don't climb these levels once. You cycle through them, again and again. You can be free financially but poor in time, rich in opportunity, but bankrupt in health, powerful in business but empty in purpose. Every new chapter of life tests your ability to balance these levels. That's why wealth isn't static. It's dynamic. It grows as you grow and it shrinks when you stop evolving. You move upward when you choose discipline over comfort. You move downward when you trade meaning for ego. That's why awareness is your greatest currency. You can't rise above the level you refuse to see. The hidden rules of ascension. Let's tie it all together. Across every level, 5 universal laws shape the journey. Control precedes growth. You can't multiply what you can't manage. Master your expenses before chasing expansion. Time is the real currency. Every financial decision is a time decision in disguise. The rich trade money for time, the poor trade time for money. Wealth expands with purpose. When your reason is bigger than your comfort, you grow. When it isn't, you stagnate. Visibility destroys leverage. The more people see your success, the less freedom you keep. Protect your privacy like it's your portfolio. Wealth is a mindset. Before it's a number. The broke mentality spends to feel rich. The rich mentality saves to stay free. Understand these and you'll rise faster than you ever thought possible. The hidden crisis of the middle. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people get stuck between stability and growth. They earn enough to survive but not enough to transcend. They fear losing comfort more than they desire freedom. So they build a life designed for safety, not for evolution. A nice house, steady job, predictable schedule, and a quiet sense that something's missing. That's not wealth, that's imprisonment with air conditioning. And the only way out is through risk, not reckless risk, but intelligent risk. Because the higher you climb, the less security matters and the more strategy does. You stop asking, is this safe? And start asking, is this scalable? That's the shift that separates those who coast from those who compound. The ascension path. If you want to rise through the levels of wealth, you must master 3 transitions, from consumption to creation. Stop buying other people's dreams and start building your own, from comfort to capacity. Stop seeking rest and start expanding what you can handle, from control to contribution. Stop clinging to what's yours and start using it to create value for others. Every breakthrough in wealth begins when you stop living for approval and start living for alignment. Because wealth isn't about having more, it's about being more. The final realization, at the top of all levels, is clarity. You realize wealth was never about numbers. It was about choices. The freedom to say no, the power to say yes, the peace to do nothing at all. It's not measured by your income, but by your independence. Not by your possessions, but by your priorities. Because in the end, the richest person in the world isn't the one with the most money. It's the one with the most control over their own time. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this. Every level of wealth isn't just about earning. It's about evolving. You rise every time you make a better decision about how you spend your time, your energy, and your attention. Money is just the scoreboard. Mastery is the game. So keep climbing, not for status, but for sovereignty. Because in 15 minutes, you've just seen the whole map. Now it's your turn to start moving.